We must find another way up.
The witch! Wish she was here. Bet she could get us past this.
My magic is useless against the Black Breath, and there's no way around it. Odin saw to that long ago.
What are you doing here?
Making sure you can finish your journey.
Why wait to warn us?
I was busy, saving my friend, if you remember. The Black Breath is a corruption of magic even I can't dispel. Only the pure light of Alfheim is strong enough to break through. But that road is long. What does this goal mean to you?
It's everything.
Follow me.
Why help us?
Maybe I see more of myself in you than I'm willing to admit. Maybe by helping you, I'll make up for a lifetime of mistakes.
Kratos and Atreus are the heart and soul of God of War 2018, but the game's got a core cast of crucial characters around them. And in that group, the one character that is probably the most crucial to the story is Freya. Introduced at first as a mysterious witch who lives all by herself in the woods, Freya goes from being a casual acquaintance to a fast friend, and from a fast friend to a sworn enemy, which is the role she's going to play in God of War Ragnarok, to begin with at least. Before that happens, here we're taking a look back at the 2018 title, Freya's role in it, and everything we know about her so far, before turning to how that might affect her part in the upcoming sequel story. God of War 2018 doesn't tell us much about Freya the first couple of times Kratos and Atreus meet her. She's referred to only as the Witch of the Woods, or the Witch, and Kratos, being Kratos, doesn't bother trying to learn more about her. Only when they get her to help them resurrect Mimir, or, well, his head at the very least, and Mimir in turn reveals who Freya actually is, do we find out more about her past, following which her backstory becomes an increasingly important and prominent part of the game's larger story. Freya is, of course, a leader of the Vanir, even though that's not a role she's occupied in quite a long time when Kratos and Atreus first meet her. Long ago, when the Aesir and the Vanir were first at war, Freya was one of the latter's leaders. So how exactly did she become married to Odin, the leader of the Aesir? Well, that's down to Mimir. Back when he was an advisor to Odin, Mimir saw that an alliance between the two factions by marriage would bring a swift end to the war. And so, he was the one who first floated the idea to Odin. Reluctant as she was to have anything to do with the Aesir, Freya knew that Mimir was right, and that a marriage with Odin would indeed help achieve peace between the two powers. And so she agreed to the arrangement. And for quite a long time after that, things were relatively fine. The war came to an end, and Freya had a place of power and importance by Odin's side. And she was even given her own set of wings and made Queen of the Valkyries. Through their marriage, Baldur was born, and Freya, of course, loved her son dearly. Upon Baldur's birth, however, runes foretold that he would eventually meet with a needless death. Terrified of that coming to pass, Freya decided to take action and used her powers to make Baldur completely impervious to any sort of physical harm. A byproduct of that, however, was that Baldur could no longer feel any physical sensation, pain, or pleasure. And that made him deeply resentful towards his mother. Only mistletoe could break the spell on Baldur, though that was a secret that Freya guarded closely, telling Baldur that there was no way for her to reverse what she had done. Baldur's hate for her continued to grow, and at one point he even tried killing her. But when he couldn't actually go through with it, he decided to cut all ties with Freya and never see or speak to her again.
I know that you're still angry. I know that how you feel hasn't changed, but I want you...
How I feel? How I feel? I've spent the last 100 years dreaming of this moment. I rehearsed everything I ever wanted to say to you, every word, to make you understand exactly what you stole from me.
Freya's relationship with Odin also eventually broke down. After their marriage, she grew increasingly uncomfortable with his deviousness and his warmongering, and ultimately decided to leave him and his cruel ways behind. That, unsurprisingly, incurred Odin's wrath, when he put a curse on Freya that prevented her from ever leaving the Midgard. Which meant she was unable to go back to her people in Vanaheim, or travel to any other realm. On top of that, Odin also stripped Freya of the Valkyrie wings. Sigrun would success her as her queen, and used his magic to prevent her from ever being able to hurt another living being. which meant that the once formidable warrior was forced to live in quietude and solitude trapped in Midgard. Back to the events of God of War 2018 itself. Freya is almost a constant presence in the game and crosses paths with Kratos and Atreus frequently. After first meeting them, she is the one who sends them off to Alfheim to restore the Bifrost, in turn helping clear Odin's black breath and proceed up the mountain. And she also places a spell upon them to make them invisible to unfriendly eyes. When Atreus falls ill, Freya is once more at Kratos' side to help him bring him back. And eventually, she even wins Kratos over, who almost begins to trust her as an ally from that point forward. Of course, that doesn't last long. God of War 2018's climax sees a final confrontation between Baldur, Freya, and Kratos and Atreus, which culminates with Kratos killing Baldur, after the pieces of mistletoe on Atreus' quiver accidentally break his curse, to stop him from killing Freya. But though he did what he did, partly for her sake, and partly to set an example for Atreus, Freya doesn't view Kratos' actions too charitably, vowing revenge against him. When Kratos and Atreus return from Jotunheim later on, Mimir tells them that she's gone looking for her Valkyrie wings. And that's where her story is going to pick up in God of War Ragnarok. Freya is mad, grieving over her son's death, and will move hell and earth to make sure that she kills Kratos and enacts her vengeance. Given her considerable powers and abilities, and the fact that she's also now got Valkyrie wings to use, it would be a bit of an understatement to call her a major threat. Of course, whether or not she continues down this path to her very end, or ultimately ends up allying with Kratos and Atreus in some way, remains to be seen, especially seeing as the father and son duo are, after all, trying to prevent Ragnarok and the end of the world. Either way, it's obvious that Freya is going to continue being a crucial part of the story, whether she's friend or foe, whether she ends up being one of Kratos' bigger enemies in the game, or someone who actually ends up seeing what they're working for and deciding to help them stop Ragnarok. Whatever form her role takes in God of War Ragnarok, it's going to be fascinating to witness. In God of War 2018's small and focused cast of characters, Freya was the one that stood out and made a massive impression. And we have a feeling that she'll do that once more in the upcoming sequel, perhaps even to a greater degree. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below. And be sure to check out our new channel, GB Plays.